I'm Moorish. On the rise to give praise to Allah, is give honor to all the divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and the last prophet of these days, Noble Drew Ali. Islam. I also give honor to the great prophet Muhammad. Islam, where we as Moorish Americans seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things will be added unto you. What is the kingdom of heaven? The kingdom of heaven is Islamism. That's the kingdom of heaven. So once we understand that through our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, we'll be able to execute certain things that we can claim to be our own through our heritage as Moorish American or Moors, but we talking about singular and plural. One, and where there's one, there's more than one. So that's what the word Moorish means, more than one, all of us, Islam. What I like to do is sticking with my subject, the kingdom of heaven. Well, let's talk about the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies in this era of time. Whereas you see, we as being Moorish Americans claims to be the heritage or the heirs of this so-called North America. Based on what? Birthrights, national and divine. So I want to go to some documents. I want to confirm myself to the questionnaire, to the Holy Quran of Mecca, the Circle 7, and many other documents that Drew Ali gave us, especially the 101 and the Circle 7. Take these two instruments and save yourself. So this is what we're trying to do, save ourselves from what? The great wrath that surely will come upon the land of so-called North America. Islam. So let's go to the end of time fulfilling of the prophecy under Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam. Here's his document, his affidavit. These are affidavits. An affidavit is a document created by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Islam, and put copyright protection on his works based on his research when he traveled around the world and compiled this instrument here from many other instruments, Islam, in order to prove to you that what the kingdom of heaven is all about and where does it lie, Islam. And the prophecy teach them that they may know who they are. So where we're at now in the time of the end of the prophecy. So we'll go to the record of Noble Drew Ali and a few other instruments or conversations based on historical facts. Islam. The end of time fulfilling of the prophets. The last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem man from his sinful and fallen state and warn them of the great wrath that which are sure to come upon the earth. Come upon the earth, that means the whole earth, Islam. So if you would look at nature today, nature is one of the attributes of the Creator Allah. Fire, air, wind, water. All these are products of Allah. Those are his instruments that he used when man has a problem with his laws. He'll send his wrath on you in many forms. So these are some of the main instruments that he used that I can touch upon, and you can see that based on what? The history of the end of time and fulfilling of the prophecy, and where does the kingdom of heaven rely at or lays at in seeking your own salvation. Islam. The prophet says here, I'm going to skip down. I'm not going to read the whole chapter to you. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawfully chartered, incorporated organization. Any subject temples desire to receive a charter, the prophet has them and issued to every state throughout the United States of America. So at this point, we seem like we got symbols all across the United States. From my research, symbols everywhere. But are we understanding what the kingdom of heaven is all about and how we attain it? Islam, this is how we attain the kingdom of heaven. To all you Moors. All members are prompted to attend the Adab meetings and become a part of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband, take care of your children, and look at the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother, and be industrious, and become a part of the uplifting of falling humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love, their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant comes from your prophet, Lord Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah, Islam. That is the introduction to the kingdom of heaven. Acts 7. So this is what happened in the history of the kingdom of heaven. So let's go back into a period in time in 1453 in Byzantine. And we talk about a great man who was called the Sultan, Saladin, in 1453. And during this episode, there was a war created by the Knights Templars, or the Christian called the Crusades, a major part of the kingdom of heaven. Allah had an army. And so did the enemies had an army against Allah. There was a war that took place in the so-called Israel or Palestine at that time, or Jerusalem. All this is the same place where this particular war took place under the kingdom of heaven. During this war, an episode took place, and the infidel lost their war and surrendered the whole city of Jerusalem over to the Sultan. This is history. How important was that? That wasn't so important, so the Saladin said. What does that mean? It means nothing, so the Saladin said. But he took 3 steps and turned around and told his enemy, it means everything. Jerusalem means everything to you and me as Moorish Americans. Because we are the ancient people of that city. And when you come into Jerusalem, they had a gate called the Moorish Gate on the east side of Jerusalem, which is facing the sun. So we have to understand the geographical location, the time, and the episode that took place, and bring us up to this era time. To understand why it's so important, Islam is the kingdom of heaven, and why we have to obey the rules of the prophet under the divine laws of the Holy Quran of Mecca, our authorities. Islamism, the study of Islam. So what we're saying, under the divine Holy Quran of Mecca, the laws that Allah, Prophet, Lord Drew Ali, under Ali, the Prophet left us the Holy Quran of Mecca, the Circle 7, and the 101. These instruments we use in terms of understanding what divine means. We're talking about the divine. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things will be given unto you. So we are turning what? In the end of time, the prophet says, we as a clean and pure nation, from the inhabitants of Africa, do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, nor to serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first Islamic creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Mankind. So this is what we're talking about, the process and how to obtain your kingdom of heaven through the religion of Islam. No half-stepping, no backbiting, no making up anything, because Allah Prophet gave us everything that we need. So you don't need to change anything in terms of understanding what the kingdom of heaven is. We're not talking about Arabs. That's the first thing we want to be clear. The Prophet said, do not be like the Arab, nor the Beni Israel. The Beni Israel also, it says, because during that time, the Israel were what? The true protectors of the Islamic creed. So I'm talking about in terms of heritage, birthright. So Islam, I left off at ayah 6 of the circumcision. We as a pure and clean nation do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the Protestant nations of Europe. Islam, moving right along. This is what the Prophet teaches us. Check this out. Ayah 7. This is what Moors got to understand. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations, as it was prepared for them, for their forefathers, for their earthly salvation, the kingdom of heaven. We as a pure and clean nation, Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which is founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. Earthly and divine salvation. This is the kingdom of heaven. Islamism is the kingdom, and through Islamism, you can execute any type of law based on what? Common law, because that's what it's based on. Common law, ancestral, heritage, through adoption, marriage, inheritance. This is what we're talking about. This is, our family is the kingdom of heaven, the Moorish family, under the banner of Islam, which is our flag. Our flag is a 5-pointed green star flag, which is called the so-called cherry tree that George Washington chopped down in Philadelphia in 1774 and claimed that the Moors will never rise again. The cherry tree is the symbolic symbol of the Moorish flag when you go to Philadelphia, which was the first capital of the so-called United States, which is the Continental Congress, where we had a Moor, the Grand Sheik Moor from Maryland. You know who I'm talking about. John Hanson Bay was a Moor who was head of the Continental Congress during that time, with 35 Moors from 35 tribes here in North America. Still talking about the kingdom of heaven based on what? Consanguinity, marriage, adoption, and heritage. In this episode, we're talking about heritage through your ancient forefathers. This is where we're at in terms of telling the brothers and the sisters and the Europeans, have no fear, because this is all of our land at this time. So somebody's going to have to move over. You're going to have to move